Okay, cool. We'll call the meeting to order. It is 12:07. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and start with roll call. Mr. Richard, or Dr. Richard Chamberlain.
Present.
That's our liaison,
I was just making sure you had a list.
yeah, we got this. Yeah, Javier de Anda. Here. Ms. Bruni has resigned from the position. Have we?
Connected with,
Yeah. Anyone else?
yeah, it's up for grabs, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make that.
Is it, that's a district, or that's a
Yeah,
district
that's,
assignment,
yeah,
right?
for
Okay, that's fine.
Alberto Torres.
Alfonso Abel.
Here.
Yeah, Guadalupe L. Ramirez.
Here.
Jorge Gonzalez has recused himself. Hector Alanis.
Present.
And I'm David Cash Vasquez, present. Any public comments?
We do not have any public comments, sure.
Okay, great. No public comment. We'll proceed to item number 4, approval of minutes from the November 14, 2024 Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion from Mr. Dana.
I second.
Second. Discussion. None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meetings are approved. Minutes are approved. Item number 5, presentation by the Community Development Department Director in the Hamilton Apartment Senior Complex, and any other actions isn't there too. Ms. Martinez.
Yeah, you wanna swap?
Yeah.
Swap. You're gonna control it for her?
Yeah, I
Okay.
control it. We're good. Or, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So Tia Martinez, Director for Community Development. I'm sorry, I'm just having some trouble with right now with my allergies. But so what I'm gonna present to you today is the request from Community Development on the senior apartment complex known as the Hamilton Hotel Apartments. Marcy, you want me first slide? So, I know y'all are very familiar with the iconic building. Just to give you a little bit of information, it was built in the 1920s. It's a 165 unit complex. It is in the Central Business District. It sits approximately 113,426 square feet. It was converted to apartments back in the early 2000s, and it's been senior housing ever since. It's unassisted senior housing, so the only restriction is you have to be 62, but you have to be self-sufficient. You have to be able to live on your own. It is registered as a national. It's part of our national register of historical places in Texas, and the complex does have 1 restaurant unit, commercial unit, 3 regular, commercial offices, a laundromat, a business office, and a kitchen dining room area with and a little patio for residents. Just to give you some information on affordable housing in our community and how it relates to this building. So 165 units that are available in this complex is everything from studios to 1 bedroom to 2 bedrooms. It is for low income senior residents, and the average just income for our senior resident or seniors in our community average anywhere from 900 to 1,400. That's like if they're just receiving the basic Social Security. So we see a lot of need in our community. There is definitely a lot of need for affordable housing. The current rates of the Hamilton are set at 641, 699, 808. But market, if you go anywhere and try to find units of similar size, 785, 951, 1,000. So we have over 300 people in our waiting list, not just for this program, but throughout other senior complexes. We like to always ask other senior complexes how they're doing in those numbers, but overall, there's a lot of need. The city of Laredo has about a population of 24,000 seniors living, so you can just imagine how much more need there is.
Now, who sets the rental rates?
We do. We do. There is restrictions based on, the tax credits that were given to this property. So this property is restricted by the state to stay low income, due to the way that it was originally financed a few years ago, well, in the early 2000s. So there are restrictions that we do have to be below market. So we can have increases. Now, recently, it had been operated by a third party, and when they were operating, they weren't consistently increasing. So the last time they tried to increase to come, to match operations, there was a little uproar. But there should be, there should be yearly or every 2 years, like a small increase. Mm-hmm. Next slide.
Now, does, Tina, do the rents require council approval, or is it just based on the department, or?
So they will be. So there's a transition period right now. There's a board, there's a corporation of the city that manages and owns Hamilton right now. They're in the transition period of dissolving the corporation and giving it back to the city. And from that point forward, right now we are managing it, we are in charge of managing it, so we will, any changes that we make now going forward will require council approval. And the city already manages, aside from the 165 lease units, we manage about 600 housing units already for the city, municipal housing units, and every time there's any change, it requires council action.
And when did the city acquire this?
Sorry?
When did the city acquire this?
So the corporation acquired it in the late 1999, when there was that transition that it became apartments. So it's through a corporation of the city.
It's a private owned, or is it corporation by the
It's a
It's a
municipal
corporation.
corporation.
Municipal corporation.
So they'll be dissolving and they'll just be transferring the assets to the city, because that's the requirement.
So it's gonna be city. Okay.
So reasons for funding. Now that we are fully operating it and managing it, we have seen the need for accessibility enhancements, building improvements, historical preservation, community impact. Just making sure that building stays up to par will help the whole, downtown community in a whole. And then long-term stabilities, upgrades to efficiency, energy efficiencies and other operating costs. Next slide. We are proposing some needed upgrades, replacements, or repairs. So there is electrical system upgrading that needs to be done, plumbing renovations, building repairs such as windows, doors, fire safety enhancements, accessibility modifications, common area improvements, and energy efficiency improvements. So keep in mind the last full renovation was in 2000. So this building does require, there's been the regular maintenance and repairs, but you can do so much patchwork in a building like this, you really need to do some major renovations on it. Those are just like some examples of what I was mentioning. Our elevator right now does require some creativity by our fire department whenever they have to access some of the floors. The bed in one of them only fits a certain way, and the other one has to be more seated up. So that always creates a challenge for them. But you can see the pictures of even, the system, the electrical system on the elevator really needs to be looked at. Well, it needs to be upgraded, right? And then the chiller, it's a chiller system that is on the roof. It's on two parts. We have two parts, and that's on the roof. I believe that's on the 12th, on the top, the highest point, and the railing that it's on really needs to be also upgraded. And then of course you can see examples of like entrance, exit doors that are in need of major repairs. And some of these doors are historic, so we have to be very, very mindful of
Do you
the
have to go
doors.
before the historical
So once we do all the planning, if this gets approved, then we do all the planning and assessment phase, it has to be not just approved by the local, by the state. So we will submit all the exterior work to the state, and the state has to give us the thumbs up before we can proceed with any renovations.
So windows need to be replaced also this time?
So, go to the next.
Okay.
So the windows need to be repaired and need to be, so what's interesting, and I know because we're working on the building next door to it also. So the building, the state requires you to maintain those wood frames. So we will always have to maintain
Wood.
and fix those. We wish we could have changed them out to something more durable, but since it is a historical building, they do require us to keep those. So the maintenance of it, the repairs of it will always be, a costly item.
Can you not replace with wood windows?
Sorry?
Can you not replace with wood
No.
windows?
You have to replace it with wood as part of the state requirement for historical preservation of a building.
So the wood can be replaced?
Yes, but it
not
has to
just
stay
painted,
wood.
not just painted?
Yeah.
So,
And if we can't, you have to repair it, not just remove and put a new piece of wood. Like, you have to actually repair what's there
Oh, so you have to maintain the same wood.
as much as you can.
Wow.
Wow.
That is.
Well, doesn't, okay.
Yeah, as much as you can. They require you to keep frames and keep as much as you
But
can, but
wouldn't that kind of work against the idea of being energy efficient?
correct. So, but the historical preservation is very different from
Oh, I know, I
energy
understand
efficiency.
that, but we're here, we're measuring one and the other.
Mhm. So we have to get creative on the interior of the buildings to ensure that we can meet some energy efficiency, but while still preserving. So that's why historical buildings are very unique and very expensive, because it's not your traditional remodeling rehab job.
yeah, so that was kind of, is sort of along that line. So I've heard from others that are in downtown that the historical can get a little tricky when you're, let's say for example, this door is from the 1920s, and you have to replace it. What is that process like? Is it also, you have to find the same exact door, you have to find the same exact manufacturer, or can I just go to, Lowe's and buy a door? Is
The state will give you different options. They will, but they do ask us to repair. I mean, we've had some instances where they've asked us to repair what's the proper word? No, the part of the
Molding?
brick, like
Asbestos?
the
mortar?
Molder.
Yeah.
And they actually asked us to hire someone to make sure that we
Oh, wow.
preserve the mold. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they're not looking at budgets. They're looking at preservation, and this is with the state, because and they want us to preserve as much as we can. So yes, it can get tricky, but these are, whenever projects are federally or state funded, these are requirements that we do have to look at. And what happened with the Hamilton Hotel is that it became part of the registry of national buildings. So now, we are taking on that responsibility to maintain it a certain way. But those are some just other pictures of some of the plumbing. A lot of the plumbing is on the basement, so it does need a lot of upgrades. Next. And those are just some of the pictures of inside. I know sometimes pictures don't do justice, but just so you can see a little bit of the idea. There is a first floor restroom. There's only one, there's like two little restrooms, but only one of them's really like a little bit nicer than the other one. So anybody that's on the first floor, there's only one restroom there.
For the whole first floor? So they don't have one in each?
Yes, sorry, that's like the common area.
Oh, common
So like
area.
for the common area, so sometimes they come down and, you can imagine 165 people, they don't all come down at the same time, but they'll have lunch like 50 people, 40, and then there's only one or two restrooms at a time.
Is that one on a unit or the common area?
That's
So this was the common area, and then this is a unit. So, yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
this is a common area on the first floor, just so
Yes,
you can
and
get an
then that's-
idea. Like, and we wanted to show where even to get to the restroom, that door is not really accessible, it's not wide enough, so if someone's really gonna walk in with it.
And
They're gonna
I also
struggle.
see a tub. It's very
So-
hard for older people to
Yes. Correct.
step into
So-
the tub.
So this is what a typical unit looks like.
Right.
Right now, some of our residents will get assistance from like AARP and other programs. They'll come in and ask us for permission to retrofit those,
Yes.
but we don't have enough funding to retrofit everyone. So we'll,
Okay.
you know, we're looking at ways that we can maybe, if this isn't get approved, it's slowly, maybe 10 a year, 15 a year, you can imagine. But yes, this is how they were built. For
Yes.
whatever reason, this is.
So for historical reasons, they won't say you have to keep that.
No,
No,
the
that
interior- So the good thing is that
Wouldn't that
it,
be something?
I already have mine with the handles and everything and just
so
walking.
that is a good thing. Interiors are not regulated by historical preservation
Oh,
normally, unless it's like a common area or more. But usually we have more flexibility with the interior.
Okay.
But go back to the.
I'm
Sorry, where was the unit?
That's fine. Yeah. One more.
Okay, and then this is your typical, you know, refrigerator, stove, and we that's the only things we facilitate. We only facilitate a stove, and at one time when they first moved in, they were providing them with microwaves, but that can get costly. So we've gone back to just.
Are those electric or gas stove?
Everything is electric.
That looks
Yes.
electric.
Yes, I believe everything's electric.
That's safer.
Yeah. And then this is an idea, just one of the facades in the front. All of this needs a lot of repairs. Okay, go next. Okay, so this is just, so the request that we are asking for, to bring up the building to the standard that, you know, it should be, and to get the modifications that we are, it's $8 million. So and then we just kind of broke it down. Now, this is an estimate. We did have an assessor go out there and give us his recommendation. Then we had some building officials go out there, and we had our own staff go out there. So we kind of compiled what we feel would you know, what it would take to make these repairs. Next.
Do you have a contingency in that team?
Let me see, go back.
No.
No. This is just an estimate of cost. I mean, we could always, yeah, we could always move some of this stuff. Now, some of these we might not have to be able to wait until the bond. That's gonna be a contingency. We know we've made some repairs to our chiller systems, to our AC systems. So some of that might, you know, be able to, become a contingency. Next.
What is your current operating cost for,
Okay.
are you getting there?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm jumping ahead.
So just to give you a timeline of what, if we were approved 8 million, we foresee this being a 3-year project. So, you know, 6 months would be planning, assessment, and design. You know, everywhere from consulting with the state to ensure that we are within the historical preservation guidelines, and anywhere to making sure that we grab everything that is needed. So that's 6 months. Then our procurement process would probably be 2 months bidding out. Then 2 more months to award contract, because of council approvals and, you know, all that documentation, getting the contracts ready, getting the insurances ready. Construction phase, we would estimate 24 months, 2 years for the construction of it. And then, of course, project closeout, you know, we give ourselves 2 months for retainage and any other little items that we have to close out. Next.
Is the ask also for the outside? Or do you have any repairs on the outside?
Yes, like the doors, the facade,
Facade,
yeah, the windows,
the
that's,
awnings, all
yes,
that.
those awnings, yeah.
And it's showing that right there, looks like it's not
All
waterproof.
the windows.
This is a patio, yeah, so the patio right now, it's getting also flooded,
Flooded whenever.
yeah. So we would have to make some repairs, possibly add some drains out here, I don't.
So when it rains a lot, it floods and it goes in.
Really?
Yeah, cause there's buildings all around, it's like a covered patio, so the water just kinda,
There's nowhere for the water to go. There's no
There
grant,
is,
there's
it's
an
probably
existing
not,
one?
it's probably
Not
not
big enough?
sufficient, yeah, so
Yeah,
it
it
probably
used to
already
be a-
needs modifications, or there might be issues with the, yes.
It used to be a pool,
Hmm?
right?
I don't know, no, I'm not sure, I don't, no, I'm not sure.
I'm a former resident of Hamilton. Seriously, I lived there for a couple of months back in '88, so.
Okay, so this is our, currently, so you did ask about our financials, so right now we're estimating a current budget for maintenance and operation of 1.2 million. And the operating funds is revenue and expenses. So we estimate receiving about, from rental revenues and tenant fees, and then, operating it with the same 1.2 million. There is a current HUD loan right now, so a lot of the 1.2 expenses, that's 292 a year that we are having to pay that loan. Well, it got refinanced in 2016, but that 2016 loan. 2000, it's a 2000 loan, which got refinanced in the early 2000s, that got refinanced in 2016, but that's what's left, the 5.5. So that is still getting paid. Just to give you an idea of operations, so under our municipal housing structure, I do have a manager, I have a superintendent, a supervisor, and then I would assign a new office assistant and 3 building mechanics, a custodian, and a compliance inspector to assist with the operations of the Hamilton. Currently, our operating occupancy rate is 82, just because there are some that really need work.
So they're not runnable right now.
Yeah, right now, about 7 are major repairs that we need to do. 15 are under assessment, we're hoping that we can, and then we've already fixed some. And these are like turnaround, I mean, people just sometimes move up. I'm sorry.
So the current HUD loan, you said it was a $5.5 million loan, but there's a balance of 292?
No, that's our yearly expense.
Got it.
Payment.
So that's the current balance, 5.5 more or less?
Yes, I don't remember what originally in 2000 it took, to, was it 12, 15? 15 million maybe? When it first, the first conversion back in 2000.
So that goes back to 2000, you paid off that note since 2000.
There was a refinance that was done in 2016. And then right now we have a current waiting list there of 43 people.
So you could fill up to 30 if they were ready.
Yes, if they're ready, yeah. So just a summary of how this project goal would align with our Viva Laredo plan. I mean, improving housing quality is always important, right? We need to make sure that the current housing stock that we have in our community it can stay in our inventory, not just for the city, but for our community. Enhancing any community infrastructure is vital for us. Promoting accessibility is important, especially for a senior complex like this. So, of course, this project not only addresses immediate housing needs, but also supports broader community development goals, fostering a more inclusive and sustainable Laredo. I think that's all I have for you.
How about revenue?
So revenues expenses, it's a 1.2. We're expecting to get just the 1.2 to basically operate.
So you're getting 1.2 million right now from rent?
From rent and we have the commercial properties and then the laundromat,
So yeah, that was my next question. So downstairs, first floor is all commercial, right?
yes,
You get revenue.
What?
yes. Those are no restrictions, so that's where we need to make our money. Those are the ones that need to be driving the income to that property, because those are not restricted. If I cannot make the best dollar I can on those properties, then I have to increase the units, and that's what we don't want. We don't want to increase our low income residents. We want to make sure that the commercial properties maintain and sustain us, right? And that's where we need to make sure that that revenue comes in.
The laundromat, for example, is that only for the residents?
Yes, it's in the basement, so it's and it gets used, and it takes us, I wanna say we've added some units. I mean, we make steady.
How many commercial units do you have?
3 and a restaurant.
So there's no financial statement that we can see more or less?
I do have something, I can share it with you.
Yeah, they come in, expense,
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
let's see what's
Yeah.
coming in,
Yeah.
what's going out.
Ah,
everybody gets for that.
yeah,
But, so if all are rented at, market rate, what is the,
so we wouldn't be able
We
to,
went there.
there is
it's 80% or whatever?
there's a restriction on the property for 30 years. So that, this building will not become market rent. It has to.
I'm
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
commercial
Oh,
units.
the commercial?
How close do we have to get to market rate?
No,
I
but
mean,
on the commercial, there's no.
There's
yeah, there's no
restriction.
restrictions. So we are right now competitive with, we do an analysis of what is being rented in the downtown area, and that's how we're renting it.
Are you able
Now-
to service your loan with, service the amount that we have to pay with what we make in the commercial side and the rent?
Yes, yeah, those 1.2 factor in all our revenue coming in, and 1.2 of the expenses, including the prepayment. Yes.
Okay.
You have an opportunity to, increase it by about $250,000 if you're able to renovate and
Yes.
repair those 30 vacant units,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and that's where we see that, that's what we're really, missing out on.
Well, that should be priority, is getting those units up and running, and
Yes.
that's potential income that's being lost.
Yes, and when we got the property back for the city to maintain it, we had a little bit more, and we had a lot of outstanding invoices that the previous management company hadn't been paying. So that was our priority, get back, you make sure the vendors are happy, make sure that the vendors answer our service calls, and then and then of course, maintaining at least the ones, prioritizing which ones were the quicker repairs and get them back on the rent, so.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Have you done an assessment on the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC? Is that part of those repairs? Is it gonna be a full overhaul?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so there's also we're factoring in if we would have to relocate people.
What-
Because, we don't, we realized there is individual floor valve shut up valves for water. We're just afraid to use them because we don't know if they'll shut down. So there might be we have two plans. We have plan A, we just relocate them within the same, building, or plan B, we might have to relocate people while these repairs, and that would be a lot more costly. But we did put both, we have those both options.
Water, electrical, gas?
No
No gas?
gas.
No gas.
I think just a restaurant might have gas.
Yes.
Yes, I think just a restaurant. So another interesting fact, just so you all know, all our commercial units, we have to factor in water, all the utilities within the rent. So the building was not, yes, and all the units, the same thing. So what you saw as even the tenant rent includes water and light. So they have one bill.
So 795.
So that's why it also looks a little high, but because it's water and light.
Just
included.
electricity is the-
Just
Yes.
electricity there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The thing is that building has metal plumbing for drainage.
Oh, yeah, it's cast iron, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and so that thing I can
Cast
guarantee.
iron deteriorates.
Yeah, if it's not gonna happen within the next year, it's.
So it hasn't happened yet. 'Cause
Yes,
they mentioned
yes,
it.
we
Let
are
me ask you
aware
a question
we
here.
are aware certain items are more critical than others. That's why I mentioned not putting a contingency right now is because we might need to, we understand the bond process is gonna be long, and if it gets approved, I wouldn't have access to that funds until sometime next year.
That $8
So-
million price tag, I'm not doing, but you.
So there are gonna be items that are gonna have to be done
For all these scenes,
before.
What is under contractual services?
that's my
So-
question.
Personnel services, I understand, you
Yeah,
you
the
explained
charge-
that, materials, supplies probably goes along with the personnel services, but the bulk of that 506,000 contractual.
That's everything, that's the plumber, that's all our vendors that we use, we do some stuff in-house, but a lot of it has to be, our local plumbers, electricians, the service elevator gets serviced every month, everything's under contractual, and then those major repairs, sometimes, we'll pick one, you know, we bid it out, and so everything is in the contractual. That's all, basically, that's
Have you
all
done
our,
a study on how much of that will go away with repairs that you're talking about?
you know, so we always will have repairs to be done,
Obviously,
yes.
you're not
But
saying,
I would, I
but
mean,
when it's,
it would be
when it's
significant.
40%, you know,
Yes, it would be significant that we would be able to lower that, correct?
Mm,
What's included in other charges
Yeah,
of
218,000.
Let me see.
We have a reserve appropriation of 200,000, 218,000, and that's a proposed budget. What you're looking there is not the
It's just-
financial,
no.
it's the proposed budget.
Oh,
So
this
this
is
is
just
25. Yeah, the financial, you can find also in the, city website, the finance department for the financial.
But let me, for disclosure, we haven't transitioned all the financials to the city.
Correct.
So this building still has two separate sets of financials, because the corporation still has control of some of the funds that are coming in, based on the way. So, again, this is the best estimate that I can give you right now of revenues and expenses, based on their financials, of the corporation's financials, and then the city's financials. So right now, the city, because of the transition and because there was so much backlog on vendors and critical items, the city has stepped in, and right now, the city's paying for the personnel. City's paying for personnel. So that's been a savings that has allowed us to make some of these repairs that are needed.
on the roof of the building, there's no revenue collected from the roof of the like for
For the
towers.
towers, so that was an interesting, what's the right word to say? That was an interesting
negotiations.
negotiation that was done in the late nineties, early 2000s, that was sold.
Oh, sold?
Mhm.
Wow.
We don't own so where the tower is, we don't own it.
Who owns it?
Crown Castle,
And is
So-
it basically like a royalty, or I guess
no, like they bought the easement, like they purchased it, it's theirs.
It's theirs.
So
no
they
revenue.
can rent to whoever they want, like AT&T goes and puts their towers and their things on it, but the city or the building will make no money from it.
okay, can we have them remove the tower?
Again, it's not
It's not.
ours, it's not our easement,
It's
an
honest,
easement.
it's theirs.
like it's their property.
About that piece of property with the tower.
It's like the Lamar signs.
So they
you know.
bought the roof.
It's, I mean,
The
I don't know the
rights.
whole
They bought the right.
legal, yes,
Yeah.
like I don't know the legal, you know, I'm not here representing
Right,
that contract, I can't speak for that contract, but it was a
That would be
transaction
like
that.
an easement, right?
It was a transaction that was done, that did not allow us to make any
And they
rental.
maintain it, I guess.
Yes, we make no money off of the tower.
So
That
let's
would
say,
be the-
for
that would be the
example,
moneymaker.
let's say for
Yeah.
example, you wanted to do something,
Lovely.
or something needed to happen on the roof. Do they need to grant permission?
So, no, not all the roofs, so just where the tower is. Now, we do, well, I mean, and so those are other options that we can look at, but right now, the tower's not ours, and we can't make money off of the tower.
No. But I'm just thinking roof repairs and. later
No,
on.
that we're responsible, we are
That's-
responsible for
that's
the roof
all.
repairs.
And the roof is,
The roof, we did it, in 2016, we were able to
that was the
repair.
refinance.
When we
Yeah.
did the refinance, there was some items that the bank, required the corporation to do before turning over, you know, or to refinancing. So the roof, we got a 20 or 30-year parapet, I think it's called, roof or system, I don't know what, the right term for it, it's a different, but that roof should be, you know, it is in good shape, it got repaired. There was some other little items that were required to do at the time. Any other
And the personnel services, that's salaries?
Correct. That's
they
our
went down
estimate
from-
of just the salaries that we mentioned.
Because that went down from 264 to 1.
Yeah, I'd imagine they probably moved some things around that, on the contractual services. Probably some of those things, increased because some of those things are now being done by a third party that probably personnel services are doing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're, right now, we were having trouble getting like even a janitor because the trash needs to be taken out every day just because of the size of the building. So it was just more cost efficient to hire a third party to come in and do that on a daily basis.
No, just keep in mind that this is the first year's budget that we have. If you notice those first two columns, they don't have any actuals. So we're still trying to develop the budget that's gonna move forward. If she's gonna need more personnel, that's definitely gonna have an impact on the personnel costs as well. So we'll have a better history next year, and we'll be able to develop a more accurate budget of what is gonna be needed to actually run the operations.
So if approved after the $8 million investment that you're gonna put into this building, is it gonna be self-sufficient, or is there, you think you'll get to the point where it's self-sufficient to be able to operate based off the rent that you received? And
I mean, I'm sure that the goal is for it to be self-sufficient. Like was mentioned before, we have a balanced budget of 1.2 million coming in revenues and 1.2 million going out in expenses. So as it pertains to sufficient, it is right now. The issue would be as we incur the debt, that 8 million or whatever that amount is, that's gonna put an extra burden in operation to cover the debt service side of it. And,
so you think they'll go up in rent to help offset some of the $8 million?
You can't on the residential side.
well,
You can't.
and that was my question.
We can, but in a,
Rate.
We have to
Small
stay below
increments.
the
Small
market rate,
increments,
and that
correct.
was my question, what percentage do we have to stay below that market rate? Because obviously, if we're going in and making.
There is a
improvements-
percentage you have to stay below that market rent?
there's a formula that we have to follow. Now, what happened was that, again, why we got this property is that the previous property manager hadn't done a rent analysis in at least 5-6 years. So they missed out on a lot of, potential revenue, even $20, $10
Oh, God.
a month. I mean, on a month,
Yeah, every
per
month.
unit, per year, would have assisted, this property. Now, unfortunately, some tax credit projects, this is the way this world is, right? When the repairs are done, or when a full rehab of a building happens, or new construction of these projects, you're making good money in the first couple of months. The project is very self-sufficient. You might even be cash flowing and saving a little bit. What happens in year 15 and 16 is when you start seeing the need to make these major changes. And if you're not prepared for them, but a lot of these deals and these corporations just kind of dissolve after year 16, 17.
Just to see if we can kind of maybe get a recap on what I think happened in this situation, because the properties always belong to the city, right?
Through a corporation.
Through a
Through a
corporation.
corporation and its own board.
Right, so
I don't know.
if I'm reading this correctly, then we had kind of like a property management company operating it, and this, say it this way, somebody wasn't keeping tabs on them, and they were just not doing a good job, and we're losing money. And now we're at a point where we're gonna actually be able to take over the property, and so now it'll be, there has to be better responsibility and accountability for whoever's gonna be, managing the
Right.
property.
So in year 15 and year 16, the corporation restructured itself, refinanced, and some of the original developers bought themselves out. So that is really when the point, the full responsibility of this building became the board. And the board, again, it's a board of volunteers, it's a board of, and and since they had been using the same management company since day one, they thought, that, they were getting financials from the property manager, and you can move my numbers around and you can make everything look like it's, up. I mean, they have audits, they have tax returns, everything was coming out good, until we started seeing that the units weren't getting repaired. And that really just happened the last 2-3 years, that we noticed that we had vendors calling us, they weren't paying anymore, and this is a property company that's still in Laredo, so.
Are they local?
Half local. Half of them left.
So,
Local with an L, not
Yeah.
local, not local.
Yeah,
Local.
LLCO.
Because the revenues that we get, everything to the last dollar gets spent.
Well, this is a
So there's
budget.
nothing for reserve. Cause you do need to have something on reserve for something unexpected.
So there is a reserve based on, the HUD loan that you saw, the 5.5, requires us to give a monthly payment to HUD with a reserve. So we
Okay.
are able to tap into that reserve, but when we got that, guess what the reserve was?
Is it?
they had requested, repayments of some invoices. So we built that reserve up, so that's why we are estimating to be able, but again, a lot of the things that we're doing is just maintenance calls, right? A lot of plumbing issues, a lot of, even elevator issues, AC issues. I mean, we replace ACs, we repair ACs on a constant, daily, almost daily. And then these AC units are very unique, so we have to order them, and it takes, so it's a whole process, but a lot of the money that you're seeing there is just going for daily maintenance, so we're not able to make or save enough for these bigger repairs that are needed.
Most buildings like this, are gonna have association dues, just like your regular, condominium and townhomes, to be able to upkeep the building and keep up maintenance. And obviously this doesn't have it, and has never had it, that's probably one of the things that maybe should be looked into separating some base rent and some of the money's going to the association dues to be able to kind of increase the reserves on that. The other issue is, of course, and I don't know I'm sure the city's already looked into any legal responsibilities from the previous corporation in the way that they manage the property, because obviously, they're getting their money and they're leaving, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got the money.
This legal has been reviewing that contract that was left.
Does this have a fire suppression system, one, and two, is there, I'm sure there's liability if something happens upstairs and people get killed or die because of a fire or what have you,
We have very good communication, obviously, with our fire department, so they are constantly checking our system, ensuring that the system
but there is a fire suppression system where?
Correct, yes, and they have a process, and they have.
Let me ask a stupid question here. What is the thrust behind repairing this building rather than building $8 million worth of new brick and mortar somewhere to put 165 units?
So I think the preservation of any housing stock that we currently have is vital to our community. We would not be able to build fast enough to meet the demands that are already there. So there's already 300 people waiting. So if I take 165 units out of the housing stock, they're building right now 85 units in North Laredo for elderly. It's another tax credit project. So they're already building 85. That's gonna not even dent those 300 people on our waiting
You
list.
just said 45 a little while ago, so there's a disconnect between, you said there's 45.
Oh, 43 in
43.
these. The 300 is in our community.
Oh, in the
so we
community.
call.
So that's not necessarily
you
for
know
this
that
building.
there's affordable housing, elderly affordable housing like Lulac Haven. Who else has? There's not that many elderly only units. Like Hamilton's one of the biggest. Then Lulac Haven, Villa San Luis. We have contact with all these other affordable housing partners in our community. So that's 300 people on in our community that are in need.
I thought it was just for.
No. So 43 are just in this unit
How
complex.
much do you build square foot?
There's no way you can't touch that. $8 million, 413,000 square feet. You're talking about $70.
Yeah.
And to build something like this, we're up to specs, probably between 200 and 300.
Mm-hmm. So 84 units, how much? The one on Shiloh that is being built, was it 20 million? I wanna say it's 20 million for 84 units.
That's in the process right now, right?
The one that's being, remember?
Yeah, it's going up fast.
It was like 20 something, 20 million for 84 units.
That's
So
that's a new
that's why I'm
development
saying we
on
wouldn't be
Shiloh
able to
and
build.
International
Yes,
and
correct.
Springfield, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's and that's gonna be a senior housing facility, well, senior housing apartment, sorry.
Well, it just seems like it's kind of a dark hole
They're 8.
that you're putting money into it, and hopefully, like Hector's saying, maybe
250,000.
maybe assessing an association fee of some kind, to be able to help maintain some of these things we're doing that would help. You know, offsetting, maybe taking part of that rent money, still keeping it below, you know, with the market, and then us doing an association fee to make up the difference. I think that would help a little bit, because I still stand by the fact that the contractual services of 506 and the other charges, even though they're 218, that may end up being, we don't know what they are right now. It just seems like that right there is over 50%, more than half of the budget.
That's what it's costing us just to maintain the building open. Those are the repairs.
I know,
that are
but will that go away?
not all of it, not all of it,
I
but
understand.
a percentage, yes. So we
But
would
hopefully
be
a
able to
large
hold,
percentage.
we would be able to, no, cause repairs are
Then no more
repairs.
repair,
People
negative
moving
repair.
in and out cost repairs to the building. Replacing carpets, replacing, painting the the unit every time someone is in and out. Yeah, any leaks and, I mean, that's always gonna be there. That's always gonna
But
be
those
there.
aren't very
My,
expensive.
my concern is that, the comment that was made earlier is that we're underbidding on, because of the pipes. I feel like the pipe, situation is something that is
You can give me, you can vote to give me more money out.
I would
I'll accept
actually,
it.
I would actually ask you to look at it as, something, I'd be in full support of it, because like Hector mentioned, the city now actually, this asset is now, at $200-300 a square foot. What is it now amount to? That's 133,000 square feet.
So your question was on the,
Pipes?
for the plumbing, let me see.
Yeah, cause that cast iron pipes, I'm surprised they
Cast
lasted
iron
this long.
pipes.
I'm surprised they lasted this long, really, to be honest with you.
We already went through a major repair at City Hall. So-
I was,
Well,
did they
the
replace
con-
everything, or did they do bits and pieces? Cause usually, I mean, it's really difficult to replace the whole system.
Two bathrooms.
The convent at Mary Help of Christians is being redone, and all of the pipes were cast iron pipes. And all of a sudden, the plumbing budget went from here to way up here because of that. So I hope it's being considered. You
Now,
know?
I know there's the technology on those metal pipes that you can actually grind them, and then they feed some sort of a liner that, you know, and it hardens. So the pipe remains, but the liner is coated. It coats the inner liner of the pipe, so.
Is this only for like one resident? Why do we need the 2 bedrooms? Do we have couples renting?
We do. The 2 bedrooms are not that many,
Okay.
but we do have some.
Elderly couple.
Yes, couples, and usually when they're not a couple anymore, they'll ask for the smaller unit so they can save on their rent. So
Okay.
yes, but
It's
those,
not family.
no, there
No,
is,
they're 60-year-old with
Yeah.
over.
there's a
You
requirement.
never know, el nieto y la nieta y
That's
el
right.
The
You don't qualify, right?
The only exceptions that are given is when it's a disabled son
Manda un
Oh,
beso.
or
I
a
see.
disabled, like someone that would be in the care of the parents still. But usually they're like, closer in age or closer in the need. But no, there is no children in these facilities. There is a need sometimes for that 2-bedroom because someone has like a specific bed
Yes.
and that requires a bit more room.
Sí.
Yeah, but usually when it's a single person, they don't ask for the 2-bedroom, they wanna be downsized because of the cost savings.
You made a comment earlier about a particular room. You said that doorway is not.
Oh, that was the main, in the first floor
I know,
to
but
get to the
doesn't-
restroom.
Anytime you're doing any construction, don't you have to make everything ADA?
So this was, so remember, this was, rehabbed in 2000, so rules were different, and I don't know if, now, accessibility is different than ADA like there's different, yeah, so there's different levels of compliance. So you could do, there is like another entrance through the back.
Oh, so there's a place that they could get it?
Yes, but it's not the most ideal, it's not the straight shot to the restroom on the first floor, they would have to go through the back. I think there's a little bit of like a service door entrance.
Probably grandfathered in.
There's some modifications that are allowed to be kept because of the building.
Replace.
So, it's to replace?
Yes.
Okay, so the cost for replacement of the plumbing lines have been factored in
Oh,
based on
But-
estimates that were given to us by our current vendors.
Right, and again, they may not have to be replaced, you can just
Correct.
bore 'em
Right.
and
But,
then we'll
so we
remind
are factoring in that, yes.
I would say replace, but that's, if $8 million is the ask.
Yes, that is the ask.
That's un poquito, ¿no? You can give us more.
We will take more.
So, is there any other questions for Tina?
I would recommend that when you do the presentation, that you put some emphasis on how this benefits the city of Laredo.
Okay,
Because, you know, not doing it that way, you're gonna have a lot of questions.
correct.
You're gonna have to commit to you, okay, so we're gonna pass this referendum for $8 million. I'm not gonna live there. What am I gonna do? You know, why, how is this beneficial to the city of Laredo? That's one.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, you're only asking for $8 million out of this several $100 million that's gonna be proposed. Although it's gonna be in separate, you know, referendums, right?
Mhm.
To make sure that at least some of them pass the referendum and the voters, you know, vote in favorable, you know, as opposed to voting against everything. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the overall cost on this is probably like, 20% of 1 penny. That's gonna be, you know, that makes up the $8 million. If I'm not mistaken, I would figure out the money there, but, yeah. I mean, those would be two good. I mean, I understand myself, you know, as a person, you know, who was, you know, my parents already passed away, but I mean, we have in-laws and we have a lot of people, elderly people in our community that don't have anyone to support on it. And to be able to find affordable, you know, housing nowadays, just for rent, I mean, it's very, very tough.
And honestly, I do give a lot of credit to our community because we do have a community that will take in a tío, you know, a grandparent, an in-law. And you don't see that. I've gone to many communities and that 300, for a population of our size, 300 is a pretty good number. Because in some communities of our size, that's double or triple, because the community's not there. The community doesn't take in that tío, tía, in-law, mother, father. We have a different mindset, a different, so that is
Part of the culture.
yes, that is, you know, a good credit to our culture, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't people out there that have nobody. And we hear them all the time. I mean, those residents come in and they tell us, you know, that's it. Like, I never had kids, and my sobrina just passed away. I was living with her. I mean, there are situations where they have nobody left.
And then the other thing would be that, you know, with the 30 extra beds, you know, once everything's done, with the extra income that you'll be generating, which is maybe around $250,000, you know, you'll be able to use, if it's planned and it's budgeted well, you know, use that towards the debt service.
Yes.
And
Yes.
make sure you make those points. And
Correct. Thank you. We will definitely keep those. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much.
Okay, Tina, well, I think the request is $8 million from community development. Given the information that was presented, I think it's time to take it to a vote, to add this to our proposal. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we allocate the $8 million, you know, request, for the Community Development Department, Director on the Hamilton Apartment Senior Complex.
And I'll second it. You're the chair. I can't second.
Oh, okay, I second.
Let's look at that.
Okay, Lupita, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, motion carries. Moving on to item number 6, presentation by the Human Resources Director on unfunded liabilities and any other actions incident thereto. Ma'am?
Good afternoon. Is the, oh yes.
I'll push these over to the committee as well, the presentations, so you all have copies of them.
I have a quick question.
Say next slide.
I know this was one of the items. I have a question. I know this is one of the items that we still had, like, questions on whether we could actually include this into the bond request.
Council, Chairperson and committee, Linda Pimienta for the record, that is correct. I asked Jesus for some clarification because I heard it through the first meeting, it had to be brick and mortar. So I did have a question about it. I said, are we even capable to do this? And then I think I'm waiting for a little bit of clarification if we can or cannot. I wanted to present something that may not be legally binding for this committee to present. However, until we get a definite answer, and unless they're gonna say yes, then I'll support that idea.
Do we have, before Ms. Teniente presents, shouldn't we?
We did have some conversations prior to the last meeting with our financial advisor, and they have done it with other entities out there, so we just want to get confirmation from them on this one, that's what it is. But it was a financial consultant that recommended that we address this unfunded liability. As we go through the bond rating agencies, when we issue bonds, that's one thing that they always come ask us, at how we are addressing this unfunded liabilities, and our strategies for the future. So, I'm pretty sure that we can, we're gonna confirm that, but we have been talking to our financial consultant about this unfunded liability.
Okay.
And I think what Linda's going to be doing right now is going through kind of a background on what it is, what are some of the components that are in there for the committee, and then give us a better understanding of what we're talking about with those unfunded liabilities.
Okay, do we know when we'll get an answer?
I did, if you would like to bring up the open discussion, so that way we can be.
Oh, okay, well then we'll get to that, I guess, yeah, I just didn't want her to present and then us not be able to include it.
Yeah, so if you'd like to bring up the open discussion, you wanna,
Yeah, can we bring
Request
up,
motion.
can I get a motion to bring up open discussion before we have Mr. Teniente present?
I'll move.
Okay.
and so, sorry, do you wanna need a second?
Yeah. Second, alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Discussion, aye, alright,
I know this, these questions pertain to, also if you wanna bring up number, 7, excuse me, to include
Okay.
that, because this is also from the bond council response.
okay, so can we do that, can we?
Combine them.
Can we, I guess, amend the motion?
I'll amend my motion to
Okay,
open the discussion on 6 and 7.
okay,
So, second.
second, all those in favor? Aye.
Let me go back and get that clarification for the minutes. So we had an amendment to include,
Item number 7.
Item 7, yeah.
okay. And that was a motion by Ancho and Javier second. Only number 7, because we're on number 6 already, are we not?
Yes.
Well, there
Yes,
is
six
second,
and
we're,
seven.
Yeah.
we're doing 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
So, just to provide a report on the responses that were provided to me yesterday morning by the bond council. I will read you verbatim the questions that I asked him and the responses that he provided me, and then I'll leave that to the committee for their decision. So the first question was public-private partnerships. Can the bond referendum funds be allocated to support a private-public venture? For instance, would it be permissible to fund a local hospital in converting an existing wing into a pediatric unit, or construct a new building and allow a private organization to staff and operate the hospital? Response is, it depends. Generally, the Attorney General's Public Finance Division will require a certification that the issuing entity, the city in this case, will own and operate the facility. This is because the city is constitutionally prohibited from granting these public funds to private entities, and also continuously prohibited from lending its credit. Article 25, Section 50, Article 3, Section 52 of the Texas Constitution. If the city will own but not operate the facility, and the operation is a 501c3 that is assisting the city with fulfilling a role it is legally authorized to accomplish, then it may be possible. So he sent a response to the AG just to confirm this, and he's waiting for more info. So
It would have to be
it's going back to allow, if we were to build a pediatric building, we could not allow your organization to come in because it's profit. I mean, that's what it's gonna
They
be,
have to be a
profit.
non-profit,
And
or
a
a 501c3,
So,
very similar to current public-private partnerships that are, for example, the theater, the plaza.
mhm. But you're looking at a whole hospital operation.
No, yes,
Mhm.
but no, 501, in this case, it would be a medical 501c3. I'm not gonna say Gateway would, but Gateway's a 501c3, where Gateway would come in and Gateway would then operate the pediatric unit.
Mhm.
Not to say that would happen or anything like that, but, that's what would need to happen in order for this to operate.
To be pushed forward. So that was that was the first question.
Okay.
Second question, are bond referendum funds allowed to cover operational expenses such as salaries, stipends, and or incentives? He said no. From a bond election, if the city has a budget that exceeds 3.5% M&O cap, they can hold a VATRE, a voter approved tax rate election, to ask the voters if they can increase the M&O above the 3.5% cap. That was his response to that question. Finally, the last one was, can these funds be used to acquire new lands for purposes of construction and development? He said, depending on the underlying purpose, yes. And those were the questions that I wanted to share with
Say
you.
that last part again about the land.
You could use one.
Depending on the underlying purpose, yes, you could purchase land. So still doesn't really clearly define for
It's
this.
kind of that slippery slope when
Mhm.
I use that statement, because it's really not a definite no, because you can use the salaries and benefits towards I guess furthering a project, so it's kind of one of those, I'm not sure.
Yeah. How did you interpret that response, Mr. Mata?
I didn't, I need to sit down with them
Okay.
and say if for the purpose of this, you can go.
I would say you keep
So
going.
I'll do the presentation because in meeting with Mr. Mata and our budget director, we are also developing those numbers, what they may look like, and it might be some interesting numbers that what do you like, Rustin? What'd you see? You're smiling. So the reason that we're asking why is this bond referendum, why does it matter? Because what we're wanting to do is stabilize the city of Laredo's budget. So what happens when we have, let me give you a little bit of history. Why is GASB 75 relevant to what we're talking about today? So back in the 80s, I'm gonna take out through a history class really quickly. Back in the 80s, what was happening, employers were saying that, yes, I'll help you retire from your organization in 15 years. What employers in the 80s were doing, they would get the employee up to year 14 of tenure, and they would terminate them. So what they were not doing, and they would terminate them because they had not set up those funds to retire that employee. So they would fire them. So the federal government came in and created what's called the GASB 75. GASB 75 says if everybody in the city of Laredo was to retire, this is how much money you need sitting out there. We currently are sitting around the $300 million on this through our Texas Municipal Retirement System. There's been some changes to it, so it's affecting our numbers at the moment. And I'm gonna talk about some numbers in just a little bit. And what does OPEB mean? It means it's other post-employment benefits, saying that City of Laredo, what we do, we have liability. If everybody in the city of Laredo, if our employees was to retire, we have what's called a annual leave and sick leave payout. And so what we do, we pay our employees that, and they're asking us that we sit that in a fund, and then when they get ready to retire, we pay out of that fund. The city of Laredo does not have that in place right now. So when we took a look at all this, it was kind of liabilities exposure. And what is this gonna mean? It means that the city of Laredo needs to think of our business model. What is our business model? Do we need to change it? Do we need to establish a fund that will help our employees retire? And will it will lessen that liability for the city of Laredo? And this is what this is going to be about. So what we're trying to do is think of the future for the city of Laredo. We're wanting to stabilize it and not make sure that we're gonna be, if everybody was to leave, one city of Laredo would be in a lot of trouble. That means that's the least of our troubles. We're all dead. But for 3,000 employees to leave at one time, it's highly unlikely. The other thing that I need to tell this committee is that we have two pension systems. We have a firefighter pension system, and then we have the other pension system, which is a Texas Municipal Retirement System, which is our fire and police. And I'll talk about those numbers in just a little bit. Ms. Marcy, can you help me? So what is GASB 75? As I explained it in really simple terms, but it is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement number 75. It relates to the accounting and financial reporting of other post-employment benefits, and it covers healthcare, life insurance, benefits for retired employees. And it also requires municipalities or city of Laredo to recognize what our liability exposure is, and this is what this does for us. It focuses on improving our transparency and financial reporting and helping governments plan for the future. This is what this is going to do for us. Can you change it, please? So what is the impact of an OPEB liabilities on a municipality? It does several things here. It represents the cost of the benefits earned by the employees. As I said earlier today, every employee that works for the city of Laredo, we pay out a certain amount for your annual leave and sick leave upon retirement or death for the city of Laredo. Municipality must report this on a balanced sheet. So every year, the city of Laredo reports it to the federal government. This is what our liability exposure is, and it's on our books as a liability. They grow significantly if we don't create a fund for it, and it creates a financial strain if we don't address it. We're at a point right now that the city of Laredo, based on our consultant, recommended that we need to look at it. We cannot ignore it, because it impacts our bonds when we go out there and we ask for bonds for the organization. This is what this means to the city of Laredo. So this is why we want to address it. Ms. Marcy, would you change it for me, please? How GASB 75 and other OBEP affects the city of Laredo financial health. It increases our liabilities, I said earlier. It also creates a strain on our budgets moving forward. It also impacts our credit ratings when the city of Laredo is wanting to get some bonds for the city of Laredo in order to further projects. And also it creates a long-term instability in our financial resources. And what we're trying to address is all of these issues moving forward. Leveraging the bond referendum for OPEB's release. What is this? Bonds can be issued to cover and/or reduce unfunded liabilities. What it does, it spreads that cost over an extended amount of time, and it eases immediate financial strains. So right now, so this committee can understand what we do. If the city of Laredo retires, what happens is that position is tied into what's called an FTE. And that FTE, so I'm just going to use Dr. Chamberlain as my example. If Dr. Chamberlain retires today, his FTE is his salary plus his benefits. 37% of his salary is what that entire package would cost us. So if Dr. Chamberlain retired next month, we would have to pay his salary, if that's where we were at, whatever is in his salary, and also whatever his annual leave and sick leave is. The impact to the city of Laredo, we could not hire another director because that FTE until we make up the salary of that position. So if Dr. Chamberlain leaves in September, most of his salary has already been paid according to our fiscal year. We couldn't hire that person until the new fiscal year kicks in and we have that money available to us, because we don't have a fund on the side that supports that cost of that employee in the city of Laredo organization. So key components of the bond referendum. So what we want to do is ask this committee that amount that we need to go out and ask, what would we need to do to set up in that fund? We ask our voters, are we okay to set this up? Are we okay to ask for this once a committee approves this amount? It also will help us in the future when we come and ask for bonds to allocate money for city of Laredo projects, so that exposure is not gonna reduce our ratings. And then what it does is the repayment bonds will be used to repay over a period, whatever we ask for. It's kind of like a loan that we're asking for. And then, of course, there's always that taxpayer impact. We want to make sure that we stay, that we don't create that tax burden for our taxpayers in order for us to use more fluid monies in order to further our projects. And Mr. Mata and Jesus, if y'all want to chime in at any point, just let me know. So immediate and long-term benefits for the city of Laredo, it's a financial transparency. We want to make sure that we put it out there for our tax base to know what we're using our monies for. What it does, it also improves our fiscal health, it reduces the unfunded liability, and it strengthens our balance sheets. It enhances our credit ratings. A proactive approach to liabilities can result in higher credit ratings, reducing borrowing costs of the city of Laredo. And of course, it's the long-term savings, addressing the liabilities now, reduce the need for emergency measures or budget cuts in the future. Ensuring accountability and transparency, using clear use of the funds. The bonds will be strictly allocated to addressing OPEB's liabilities with transparent tracking and reporting. It's an independent oversight. Regular audits and reviews will be conducted to ensure the proper use of these funds. Taxpayer protection, bonds will be restructured in a way that minimizes the immediate impact on residents. A path toward a stronger city of Laredo financial future. The bond referendum provides a critical opportunity to stabilize the city of Laredo finances by addressing gas fee 75 and OPEB. Securing funding will protect the community from future financial uncertainty and maintain essential services. And of course, with the support, we'll have a healthier financial future for all the residents. So, go ahead and go to the next screen, please. So when we were looking at this earlier today, or earlier in the week, when we got with our, so I'm gonna give you some percentages. So the city of Laredo currently on our TMRS, we're at 82%. TMRS, our pension system says we should be at 80%. On the fire pension one, that one is a little different. That one's at 59.1%. However, I need to say this in the discussion. During our last CBA, the city negotiated with the fire union certain things to change that. So what happened is we're increasing the amount from both sides. The city and the fire employees are now adding more into the system. They modified their plan where they cannot cherry pick. In the past, what kind of drug that fund down is they would do cherry picking, which means that we take the highest 3 years of their earned income, which included the overtime, which increased our liability a little bit more. And then the other thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna be hiring more personnel. So the more personnel that are contributing to their fund, it makes it stronger. So what our consultants said, and they recommend, is that the city must do something to improve it and increase it. So we won't see those realized until next year when you see that those increases have been added to that fund. So you're gonna see that liability kind of reduced a little bit more, and we're really not gonna see it until we finish our numbers by next year. Our consultant would like to see the city of Laredo at an 85 to 90% ratio in those liability exposures. On the TMRS side, I said earlier today, we're at 82%, fire's at 59.1. With plan modifications, we're not gonna see that until come next year. So those are still some numbers that we're still working with our consultants to see where we will be at a good position for the city of Laredo, where they would recommend. He recommends a 90, and the 90 is more on the bonding, when they go out and apply for those bonds. It will get the city at a higher bond rating, meaning that we'll get a bonds at a less amount for the city, which will further our project a little bit more. I will ask this committee to allow us possibly another week is what my best guesstimate is. We still need to do a little bit of more legwork because we saw some numbers and we need to make sure that our percentages are correct. I don't wanna put a number out to this committee yet without us being confident in the numbers that we need to request. But I kinda wanted to let y'all know what this is going to mean to us when we get ready to present to this subcommittee and to the committee. We need to start our business plan model at some point. We need to create that fund to think of the future and not put the city in a position that we're gonna be struggling to try to come up with a fund immediately. Or where it will impede the departments or the city in furthering some of those projects. Mr. Sparsa and Mr. Mata, is there anything else that y'all want to add in this discussion?
Nothing, I just wanted to make clear, so the local government code that governs this is local government code 107, so you guys wanna write it down, 107. And 107.003 actually addresses, a municipality may issue obligations to fund all or any part of any unfunded liability, so the answer would be, we're good to go. Alright.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan, I appreciate that.
How much money did you say we have in that fund right now?
0. We do not have that fund established right now, and it goes back to a discussion that we were having.
On the
What,
side.
on the
Yeah.
OPEB, that one's at 0. On the pension side, we do have some monies in there, so allow me to, TMRS is still working on those numbers for us, and also on the fire pension, we still need to work with them on their numbers. The other part that I need to tell y'all, and we're working on, is what is acceptable in order for the city of Laredo to start that fund to get us thinking futuristic. That's what I want, that's the numbers that I'm asking our consultants to work with us on. And we don't have those as of this morning. We expect maybe within the next couple of days to have those numbers for this committee to think about.
Might also wanna, get some data on the people that are in the system right now, that are receiving a pension. How many of those, I hate to put it this way, but I don't think there's any other way to put it, how many do we lose per year? How many die per year and their pension stop?
So the reality of this, so most of the people that are leaving the organization and are retiring are those baby boomers, and the baby boomers are impacting us 2 ways. Our medical plans, because we are self-funded fund, it's hitting us harder, and also people are living longer too. So our baby boomers, we're carrying them longer on our books and our medical plans, and we're carrying them longer on our pension systems. And it sounds kind of morbid to talk about this, but when those baby boomers start to die off in the next 5 to 8 years, we're gonna see some stabilization going in those areas. Right now, we're getting to that top of those baby boomers retiring, they're living longer, and those, sadly, it's costing, somebody's gonna pay for it, so we are paying it through our benefits that we pay for our retirees.
What is the sort of, what are your anticipated numbers, with retirement, within the city? What's the number of employees currently in the city?
We
4,000?
currently carry 3,000 employees on any given day. We retire approximately, when we don't have what's called a retirement incentive program, on average, we retire about 120, 225 people per year. That's on average. So some of those retirees or employees that retire may or may not take the plan. Things to consider, if their spouses have coverage through another employer, through the federal government, Border Patrol, US Customs, school districts, or whatever, they typically, if it's a spouse, they may go on their plan. Or if you have a person that's over the age of 65, then they go into a different plan. So there's a lot of variances that we consider in moving that. On typical, our medical claims in the city of Laredo, we average about $39 million a year, and we're self-funded.
Incredible.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
39 million.
Yes, sir.
Self-funded.
Takes a lot of work, sorry, to get us to keep us there.
Yeah. So police is under,
TMRS, the Texas Municipal
TMRS.
Retirement System, yes, sir.
right, and the firefighter, why are the firefighters separate?
Back in 1980, let me give you some history. Back in 1980, the city of Laredo went through a transition period. They went from being a mayor form of government to a city manager form of government. At that time, there was a retirement system that really was not good at all. I think it was called Transamerica. So then around that time, there was a company by the name of Texas Municipal Retirement System that then reached out, our police union at that time reached out to them in January of 1980 and said, hey, we've got a plan for you. If you contribute 3%, the city can match you with an additional 2-for-1. And they started it back in January of 1980. May of 1982, the rest of the city employees went in. At that year, they had an ability to have had everybody be a member of it. However, there was a representative there at the time and said, no, our products are a little bit better. No need for the rest of the employees. Fire and police at that time were thinking about everybody should have gone into the fire and police pension system. For whatever reason, they kept them separate and they became TMRS in 1980. Fire created their own pension system around the same period, but fire kept theirs separate. And then the city of regular city of Laredo of employees joined the TMRS. From 1980 all the way to today, all our city employees are part of the TMRS system. Right now, for every $1 that the employee puts in, the city matches you 2-for-1. 7% of everybody's salary goes into the pension system, and the city's matching you at 21.45, a little bit over it. So that we have a very good pension system. Pension systems like ours are almost unheard of in the state of Texas. So right now, our city employees are well taken care of.
That's 7 is the max,
7 is a max allowable by law of the Texas
and
Municipal.
you and the city's matching 21,
No, 14.
14.
Yes.
For a total of 21. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the TMRS
Okay,
does a lot of
gotcha.
business with a lot of cities within the state of Texas
There's
and
over
our legislators.
There's over 880 that are part of that organization.
I guess just a point of clarification. Our plan is a 2-to-1, so that means when you retire, you get that benefit. However, the city is not contributing 14% because we're carrying, we're funding that unfunded liability. So we're actually contributing in January, our new rate is gonna be 21.71. That is what we are actually contributing. But when you retire, you get the benefit of a 2-to-1
So the
ratio
bond
percent.
comes in at this point and then reduces that.
Now, and let me, I guess, make one point. I'm looking at the last actual, every year TMRS as well as the Laredo Firefighters Pension do an actual, the firefighters do it every 2 years, TMRS I think does it every year.
Every year.
And the last year that we did it, we have our total accrued liabilities are at 876 million. Out of that, our assets that we have is 735 million, so we have an unfunded portion of 140 million. That represents that we have funded 84% this year, right now. So 84% is a very healthy plan. Our firefighters is at 59.1 2 years ago. We're just starting our actuarial for the fire department this year. As Ms. Teniente mentioned, the fire pension board, along with the active firefighters in the city, have been working, and I'm part of the normally the fire collective bargaining. I'm also a board member of the fire's retirement system. So for the last 2 contracts or 3 contracts, we have been making or gaining ground in putting either more money or adjusting those benefits. This last year, 2 years ago, or last year got implemented, we made very significant changes, which was the cherry picking, it was the overtime, it was a formula for that. So we're expecting, and the last 2 years have been very good in the market. So we've had positive returns above our expected rate of return. So all those factors, I'm expecting the actuary for the firefighters to be, have a positive result on that. So however, we do have still more work because we wanna get it to that 80% level, we wanna fund it. Part of what we're talking here about the unfunded liability is it will be an assistance to help fund it. But I think the main one is that the other post-employment benefits, as Mr. Teniente mentions, we fund those as we go. So as employees terminate, we're paying for those accrued liabilities and that pension side of it, or the medical benefits of it, as we go through the years. So us establishing a mechanism to strengthen that and make it, have a better financial position on that is really gonna help our rating agencies, which will in turn provide us better interest rates for when we bond.
The
What is-
bond, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What is the retirement age? Or how many years they have to work?
It's three ways. It's gonna be 20 years of service at
20
any
years
age.
of service at any age.
Any age, yes ma'am. And or 5 years of service, age 60, or a disability, a medical disability by a physician. Those are the 3 ways to retire from the city of Laredo. As a TMRS member,
So at 20 years, you get full pension?
full pension, yes sir.
You could retire at 40, you start working at 20.
Yes, at 20.
Is the city hiring?
Always, I'm always hiring.
I'm too old.
86 positions, I'm apply.
I'm way over the age of retirement.
Clarification on that, Linda, because when you say full pension, they don't get the current pay that they have. They have a pension, but if you do 20 years, your pension would be anywhere from 45 to 55% of your current
Of what you're currently.
Right.
That's
So
still
the
good.
longer you serve, the closer you get towards your
Yes.
salary.
Right, we have a true pension, so the more money that you put into your account, that account is growing and growing and growing. Also, what it also does for us, every December 31st, the interest that is sitting there in your account also earns interest earnings, which then impacts your take home. So I'm very comfortable with TMRs because they do very good at taking care of our monies. Anytime that they see either way sway, they immediately call us and say something's going on, what's going on, or they're very good about telling us cautious on this and they tell me, you know. But for the last 10 years for sure, we've had a very, very strong system.
What's the average growth?
6%.
That's good.
6% is what our growth has been.
Is there a mandatory retirement age?
No, sir. Only firefighters have a mandatory, I wanna say it's 70 firefighters, I think it might be 65
I'm
or
not
70.
going, I'm not looking for a job.
Oh. We're glad to hire. We're always
2 years
working.
left.
So would the bond then, or for this particular, would that go towards mostly to offset the fire?
And I would say the OPEB,
Yeah.
the other post-employment benefits that we have. One of the other benefits,
Mainly for fire.
more fire than the TMRS, and more the OPEB benefits, because there's another portion of the benefit that police officers and firefighters get when they retire from the city of Laredo. They also get, the officer and the firefighter gets their medical insurance paid. So, and that's
That's part of the OPEB.
that's part of the library that we have out there, along with what Lena mentioned is those lump sum payments that we do, that they're taking into account when they do their actuarial study. You know, if everybody were to retire, I have to pay everybody out their annual leave and sick leave. And even that had changed a little bit in 2018, which those amounts that employees are allowed to accrue got reduced for that same reason, so that we have a little bit more control of what is accumulating out there as a liability.
I was gonna ask a question, is there a cap on the sick leave and the annual leave?
No.
Yes,
There is now?
yes.
There was
Well,
before.
there's two groups.
There's 2 groups now,
There are
Okay.
2 groups.
which is 480 and 720 on the prior 2018.
Correct.
And the 2018 is 60 days of vacation, and I don't think they get sick leave.
No sick leave. The other part, fire and police, we're obligated by contract. We have to pay out the medical insurances as it's a CBA, it's a collective bargaining agreement on medical and also on their accruals and whatever they have in their contracts. We're obligated. There's no way around it. That we can't say no. On our regular employees, we have the discretionary, the council has the discretion to change that plan. But on CBAs, fire and police, there's zero wiggle room on the city of Laredo.
Yeah.
CBA also has a higher threshold for police officers and firefighters. Some of them are unlimited, and then we have another group that has limit of 1,440 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So the CBAs do have an impact on most of what we're talking about as well.
Right.
Question regarding parachute benefits, do we still have some of those in place or no? Where people retire before, or resign based on their contract, like contract managers, the city managers that we've had almost for the last four that we've had a really
The
healthy.
golden parachute.
Yeah.
So-
Golden Crush, it
so-
shows acquisition.
So we only have, currently, we only have a city manager under contract, and we have the city attorney that has a contract.
So limited.
And, right, those are our limits right now, and that is determined by council as to what they want
Okay.
that to be. And it's in their language already.
I wanna go back really quickly to the CBA stuff. With the way negotiations have been, right, roller coaster, do you see any, with regard to the bond in 5 to 7 years, do you see there being any increase to what is being projected, the 12 million, basically what we're looking at, right? We're looking at $12 million for this particular unfunded, for the unfunded liabilities. Do you see it increasing, or there being a need for more money, or do you see it, I guess that's my question, do you see, there a good working relationship right now with, especially with fire? Not so much police, I think police, sometimes we get fire and fire, I love fire, the fire department and our firefighters, but sometimes it seems like they're to this side only, and so I'm just wondering, would that impact what the request is, or what the ask is?
What we had about a year ago that really impacted this fund as well, and Jesus can correct me, we had a huge influx of retired firefighters, so there was a plan that, that they realized that there was gonna be this no more cherry picking, so the ones that were gonna benefit from that, they left. When the I think we had 37 that left in 1 year, that 37 really impacted the budget and our funds, because we were contractually obligated to pay them out. The saving grace is that Chief Hurd will be getting, I think we said 91.
64 within this budget, we added 64 additional firefighters, so those are young firefighters coming in, contributing to the pension plan, and it's really gonna help. He anticipates that within the next 5 to 7 years, he's gonna need another 90,
Right.
depending on the stations and the activation of additional units.
So those young bodies in there is growing that fund, because they're coming in their 20s, and, so they're adding to that based on their salaries. So it may even out at some point, and like I said earlier today, our baby boomers that are hitting that retirement age are impacting the retirement. You have a firefighter's body is not the same as Dr. Chamberlain, I'll pick Dr. Chamberlain because he's sitting here. The adrenaline in their hearts, they're at a low and it goes to a high. It impacts their body, it impacts their mental state of being and things like that. So they don't have a long career like we have in the field of administration. They typically leave between 50 and 55 depending on that retirement plan, whereas someone like myself, we can probably stick around until we're 65. But their bodies are just not the same, and we're recognizing they're also exposed to chemicals that are out there. The buildings are made out of God knows what. There's been a higher incidence of cancer in our firefighters, so they are leaving the field at a younger age because of those elements, the heart and the cancers that are impacting them. The state of Texas is just recognizing the workers' comp. There used to not be cancers that was covered under workers' comp. Well, they've now been able to connect both of those, that the colon cancers, the stomach cancers, the intestinal cancers is related to what they're breathing out there in the fire. So all of that is taken into consideration, and as much as we hate to say we're gonna pay you, these guys really are putting their lives on the line when they're taking care of our citizens in Laredo. So this is why we work at our end on the administrative side. Let them work on taking care of our lives and let us work on taking care of the financial pieces to it. And that's where our partnership comes in.
Okay. Do y'all have any other?
No, I think, the only thing at this point is, we're gonna have a continuation of this discussion at the next meeting.
Yes, sir. If
Since we
the
don't have
committee and the
one,
chair would give us this opportunity, allow us the time to come back with those numbers. We wanna make sure that we're, all the questions that you had are good questions, because we want to make sure that we give this committee a best recommendation based on our expertise in this area, and also with our consultants. We wanna get those numbers really close to where we should be at, thinking futuristically.
Okay. So then, I think, we need to, table it.
There's no table, there's no motion.
No.
There's no motion, we just, bring it up at
we
the
need
next
to,
agenda.
yeah, we just need to add it to the next agenda, so that doesn't require a vote or anything?
There's no vote right now, what we would need to establish is a date and time for this subsequent meeting to occur.
But we still have to
Yeah.
discuss item number 8.
Which we will, but before we move to that, I mean, shouldn't we, I mean,
Cause we're setting a date
Set
and
the
time, yeah, to discuss the unfunded liabilities still.
so we'll continue that into our next meeting, whenever that is.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
gotcha. Alright, so then I guess, well, thank you for your presentation,
It does
Thank
make
you.
very
the
informative.
opportunity. Yes,
Thank you. Okay, item number 8, report by Public Health Health Director on local hospital CEO feedback and any other, actions incident there too. Dr. Chamberlain?
Thank you, Chairman. As the committee requested, a communication was sent to both CEOs from doctors in Laredo Medical Center. The group was copied as well, asking them for their guidance, feedback on the proposed pediatric hospital, and or inviting them here to be present today. We do know that they are extremely busy in their realms, and unfortunately were not able to join us today, and as of today there has not been a response provided.
Can I just add to that? We actually had a visit, with the CEO, on a completely separate item, at Gateway, and, the discussion of the pediatric hospital did come up. And I'm probably speaking for Jorge, but, he did, mention that we could use more pediatric facilities here in the city, so I don't think he personally would be opposed to having a pediatric hospital here in the city. That's just verbatim, I can't really express much more other than that, but it's not something that they'd be opposed to, so, that's just my 2 cents on that. I'm sure he'll elaborate from your email and your correspondence.
When and if I do receive an email from them, yeah, I will share that with the group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cause I know that was related to our discussion last, so. Does anybody have anything to add?
To this topic?
Yep.
Well, how long do we wait until, cause we don't know when they're going to respond, or should we just take into account the expansion of this building?
I think that's already been voted on, so I don't think,
Yes.
yeah, and that's a separate issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
But when it comes to the issue regarding pediatric hospital,
that would be another.
one, yeah, I think what we've talked about, at our previous meetings is that the cost is so big that it's not realistic.
Right,
We asked for both CEOs in the hospitals to kind of give their indication as to their thoughts on it. They haven't said anything about it, but the fact that both hospitals, or at least, doctors' hospitals that I'm aware of, have the pediatric units, they no longer have it. That kind of tells us something.
yes.
And so the one thing that I would like to find out from them is that is there a way that we can add to what we already have, what was already being provided, and is there a need? Or are we at a point where, we're sufficient providing the needs that we're providing based on our population? Because if you ask anyone in this room, hey, would it be beneficial to have a pediatrics, hospital or pediatric unit in one of our hospitals? The answer is gonna be yes.
Yes,
But again, going back to the data that we have, if it would be profitable enough, somebody else would already be doing it. So,
thank you.
I think.
I'm in agreement with your statements. We all want more, and that would include, pediatric services, geriatric services, and we need more in general across the board. So nobody would be opposed to be able to do that, but ultimately it would just come down to the ability to staff first and the operational costs involved.
But also the laws that we cannot use bond monies to pay for a for profit organization to
operation. Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, as we already established, the city of Laredo does not have the bandwidth and is not, as a municipal government, in the business of hospital operations. So
Right.
that wouldn't be able to fall on the taxpayers. Should they were choose in their own referendum that they would bring forward, that's different, right? But then coming back down to if we were even to build a 25 bed, right? And scale down all those costs that I shared at the last time, that organization, if we were to do a public-private, would have to be a nonprofit emergency medicine acute care 501c3. And those are gonna be few, far, and difficult to find in between the layers of our healthcare infrastructure across the United States.
About university program. The university program?
I mean, the university program would, and that's something that we would have to also entertain, but at the legislative level, because funding needs to be put in by the state of Texas to fund at least a public school in Texas, right? Texas State, well, I don't think Texas State has a medical program. UT, A&M, UNT, I mean, the UT system in general, right? And that, unfortunately, we couldn't speak for in this moment, because that legislation doesn't exist, and that would have to be a continuous rider that would support that. But is that a possibility? Absolutely it is. I mean, we've seen the significant growth of our current UT campus here and our A&M campus because of the support of our legislative body, and most importantly, Senator Zaffarini and Richard Raymond as well.
I think the public-private really is the key to the pediatric piece. But like you mentioned, Doc, finding the 501c3, that medical 501c3 that could provide those services, that's the biggest challenge now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little glimmer of hope. I don't know if this committee wants to continue that conversation with regard to the pediatric hospital, or do we just want to?
I would recommend that we leave it for the agenda at the next meeting, which we're gonna be probably moving on to scheduling right now, but since we already still have to discuss the unfunded liabilities, might as well just keep this open and see if both CEOs or any of the CEOs would give us a little bit of information on their thoughts. And on that note, because the Clear Choice future hospital that's being considered being built in North Laredo have, bought this, to notice regarding they're planning a pediatric unit. Maybe we can ask them what their plans are and at least have some information in case someone asks, while we're doing a presentation regarding pediatric. It might be, at least we have some information if the question comes up. Just find out, we've already reached out to both local CEO from the Doctors Hospital in Inland Sea, but since Clear Choice has mentioned that they're looking into providing a pediatrics hospital, and if I remember correctly, when I heard it on the news, they were making it seem like they were going into partnership with the City of Laredo, which kind of really surprised me. But anyhow, might be a good idea to just kind of get some information from them as to what their plans are.
If I can chime in, the original scope of the items in the referendum does include at least dialogue on the pediatric and coming to the main committee with an assessment of the cost, and at that point then as a committee decide whether it moves forward as a recommendation to council or not.
Correct.
But the purpose of this committee, just kind of keep entertaining it till at least we have the assessment of the costs and
Good idea. And at least have the information regarding how much it would cost and why we as a committee felt like, we just cannot include it in this package.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So if I may, just to recap on this, I will reach out to Mr. Gonzalez, I believe, at Clear Choice, for information regarding anything in the realm of pediatrics at his facility, to be able to report back at the next meeting when we schedule that during open discussion right now. I will also reach out to Laredo Medical Center via the two previous DHL and Laredo Medical Center via the two previous communications that were sent out last week with a friendly ping. I will also formulate an additional communication to each one of the hospitals to inquire a different question along the same lines, because we were asking them about this venture of a construction, and just for the committee to have information about if their systems would be willing to entertain the idea of a pediatric unit expansion at their existing facilities, since they do have the space for it. So that would give some more clarity to the group as to, there wouldn't be public-private there, this is just private for them to have the growth in their own facilities, but just to give you all more clarity. Is there anything else that I'm missing, or anything else you would like to ask?
I think that's it. I think, pediatric hospital, the unfunded liabilities, the work from our CEOs, including Clear Choice. Anything else? Nope, great. Can we set our next meeting?
Our next meeting.
Thursday? Did we say we were gonna meet on
It's, we have to do
Thursday?
72 hours, so unfortunately there was nothing set after this meeting by the committee last time. We would need 72 hours to plan for the following meeting, so
I thought we added this before our already set meeting for
we
Thursday.
have not.
This was the last meeting, we only had
Mhm.
scheduled 2 meetings, so if you all are comfortable, I mean, we can meet probably either next Monday or Tuesday. Next week is Thanksgiving, or,
Next Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd have to be on Monday or Tuesday.
it's not good for me.
So as you consider these dates, just to remind that we will have a second main committee on the second, December second.
was it December 2nd or December 10th?
December.
There was a 10th.
So next week actually would be
I was
best.
the third, I'm sorry, yes, it was the
The 10th.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So next
Correct,
week, Monday or
correct.
Tuesday would be best.
Yeah, I would imagine so. If we wait another week, we're gonna lose some time. Who's not available? Pancho, you say you're not available, right?
Well, that's.
I'm not available next
Next week. What about you?
Sure.
We're gonna be ready.
You're good?
I'm
You're
not
good?
available next week.
Not at all?
Wednesday.
I'm not available, that's when I take off.
Right. And then
I'm not available Wednesday, I'm available Monday or Tuesday.
But that's only.
I'm on the road. I'm on the
1,
road
2, 3, and Jorge would be 4,
the next 2
and we're
weeks.
down to 6,
We need 4 to.
so we
for
would need
quorum.
4. So can we reach out to Jorge and see if he's available next Tuesday, and might as well just schedule it?
Yeah, that would be,
December
Don't you need the chair to be present?
Because
Yes.
before December 10th.
You're not available Monday or Tuesday?
It would have to be like. It would have to be Monday,
They can do Friday too.
Monday
do you have
after.
enough time for Friday? 7
This
hours on
Friday?
today? Yes, I mean, you can do this Friday as well.
You can't do
I'll
12
be-
Friday
I will be
though.
out of town.
Sounds like Charles.
They let them for
What were you gonna say about Monday?
Monday,
Like,
like,
gets you
it
comfortable.
would have to be, the afternoon.
Yeah, it would be
On Monday?
afternoon.
So it would have to be 3 to 5 on Friday, or 3 to whatever time you
Or after
decide to.
5.
Or after
Or
5 on Friday, but I don't know.
Most subcommittee, well, actually, all of them have met at 5:30 on. It's a very flexible time frame for them.
I'm good for Monday.
Monday,
What time are you
evening.
available?
Monday you can still do 12, cause you still have time to do Monday.
Well, I won't, I'm not
Oh, you're
available,
saying-
yeah.
Yeah, you can do evening.
No.
You can do any time Monday, I
Yeah,
mean.
Monday.
Monday evening? Y'all have time Monday evening?
I'm out all week long.
5:30 or what
But
time?
everyone else.
Yeah, like 5.
What's the earliest you can meet?
And most
On
importantly is the people that are gonna be present, you know, for the
I'm
CEOs
on-
will have that information, right?
I gotta be in
But
San Antonio on the
I'll
bottom.
will
be
you,
available.
you'll be,
Yes.
and you'll be ready for the rest of the
We'll be
information?
ready.
I think those are the only 2 things that we have left, right?
Yeah. Let me call Florida really quick.
Are you here?
Yeah. Monday, yeah. Monday, Tuesday.
53.
Help them, guys.
Not that day.
Monday, are we
Calling
good?
Jorge to see also if he's available for you.
So I think us 4 are available, and then 4 can come in, that's 5, so that's even
Okay, so
better.
you already have 4. Hello, Mr. Gonzalez, how are you?
Pancho's out.
This is Dr. Shingo from the Rate of Public Health.
Monday, right?
I'm doing well, I'm glad you're doing fine
I
as well.
skipped it.
We're here in the subcommittee meeting and we just wanted to inquire if you have availability on Monday at 5:30 for one last one.
We should be there at 5.
Yes, sir. Okay, perfect. Well, then we will make sure you get that invite. And thank you so much for taking the call. You guys have a wonderful day. Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Monday the 25th.
Monday,
Like,
five?
what doesn't wanna be here when I'm here.
Here?
I'm here, he's gone.
Okay.
Monday, 5 o'clock here? Okay,
Can we get a vote?
can I get a motion Monday to set our next meeting, for the 25th, 5 PM here at the.
5 PM or
5:30. 5:30.
5:30? 5:30.
So moved.
Okay, Hector. Second.
Second.
Alright, Howard, second.
5:30.
Discussion.
Alright.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Monday, 5:30.
Monday, 5:30.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I will,
Motion that we adjourn?
yes, motion for Hector to adjourn. The time is 1:57 PM.
Who seconded it, Lupita?
Yes.
Repeat that second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn 1:57.